What's going on? Welcome back to We Are Tottenham TV. Preview for the Liverpool game. Everyone's out. And
Everyone's out.
we may as well just stop the stream here.
Everyone's out. The players want to play for the manager. Some players don't care. It's all great. It's all great at Tottenham at the moment.
Yeah.
All fantastic.
Oh, God. It's just like...
And we got Liverpool at Anfield coming up.
Which we have a great record there. But look,
And we're 1 point above the relegation. So.
Anything else?
Anything else? And we've got an owner who's blaming the previous owner for all the shit that has happened.
Well, let's get into that because it's some very interesting stuff coming out from the FAB meeting, which I believe was earlier this month. So let's get into the article. It says Tottenham's deep-rooted problems have been laid squarely at the feet of the club's former chairman, Daniel Levy, in a damning assessment by current CEO Vini Venates during the meetings in the fan advisory board. Last month, Venates claimed that an internal review had highlighted a number of key areas in which he believes Spurs had fallen short under Daniel Levy. He also claimed that alleged mistakes from the Levy era meant that Tottenham, contrary to popular belief, faced pressure to adhere to financial rules and must sell players.
He wasn't saying that when he was sat next to Daniel Levy, was he? Getting unveiled.
You know what I mean? They're all buddy-buddy. I thank Daniel so much. I look up to Daniel so much. You know,
Always wanted to work with Daniel, he said. I've
know what I
always
mean?
been an admirer from afar.
It's unbelievable, this, to be honest. When you're talking about Venates, literally he was looking at Levy like with puppy dog eyes, wasn't he? Like he was in love with him at times. And now he is completely throwing him under the bus. Apparently Levy has completely declined to comment on any of these quotes. Anyway, Venates has painted a very different picture from the one he presented alongside Levy, in which the pair claimed the club's aims was to win the Premier League and the Champions League. Tottenham could not be further from that target, with the club 1 point outside the relegation zone and 1 foot out of the Champions League. In the minutes of the FAB meeting published, Venates, who could face scrutiny over his own position if the current plight does not improve, appeared to admit that he had misread the club's situation ahead of his appointment last year and outlined where Levy had got it wrong. Vinai explained that since joining the club in June 2025, there had been a comprehensive review of the organisation to determine the issues and actions required. He explained whilst he had perspective on the club from the outside, it's only after spending time on the inside you can fully understand the strengths and areas to improve with actions needed. I mean, we hear a lot of this, though, don't we, with new people coming in?
Managers have said the same thing. You're looking at the outside, I don't understand, never fully understood the problems until you're in the hot seat. It doesn't surprise me that is the case. I'm sure there's obviously, the club give a perception, don't they? They give it's like they got like a public persona of what they want to do, what they want to be, how they're acting, what the real situation is financially. And we've got the Lewis family and all these people and reports saying we're going to break the wage structure. There's going to be money. We're going to invest. And now they're coming out and they're saying actually the financial situation isn't so good and it's not as good as I thought. And now I'm actually starting to really understand the situation. So. But then they said they had a 60 million bid for Semenyo turned down in January.
Higher wage packet than Man City.
Higher wage packet than Man City. They have all this stuff. So
to be fair, we did break our wage not structure, but apparently we made Conor Gallagher the highest paid player. But then I actually looked deeper into it on Capology, however accurate that is, and he's not the highest paid player.
So what is the truth? Are they now coming out with this stuff because they know we're not going to be in Europe next season and could very well be in the Championship, and they're trying to basically soft launch a summer which isn't going to be impressive essentially, and we're not going to have that much money to spend because we're lacking in those funds? Or are they blaming Levy for not having any money to spend in January when the summer just been. Is that why we didn't sign any players? And now they're saying, actually, we've said all this stuff about signing money and it's not actually about spending money and investing. It's not actually true. We thought the situation was better than it was. Is the situation with the funds, when it comes, because we know that the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is a separate entity to the club when they're two separate businesses when it comes to the events that we put on there. Is there something going on there where we actually don't have access to use those funds as a football club, rather than that's going straight to the hierarchy? So, maybe he came into the club thinking it would be the case and now it's not. I don't know. I'm just theorising about all these things. Is it just Vinai covering his arse because he's under serious pressure? And things have gone horribly wrong ever since Levy has left, although they were going wrong anyway. But they've gone even worse and we could get relegated. And Vinai's coming under a lot of shit and he's coming under a lot of pressure. And now he's trying to basically cover his arse and say, look, this is all Levy's problem. This is all his fault. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm new in here. I'm only just figuring out these problems. And this is all down to Daniel, why we're in the situation that we're in. It could be any one of those, to be honest.
No, it can't. It could be all of them.
And it could be all of them.
It could be bits of all of it. You know what I mean? I don't think it's any one problem. But for me, I don't have any specific information apart from what we're going to read out here. But I think, Vinai comes in, Spurs win the Europa League, get back into the Champions League, get the Champions League money and everything. And all of a sudden, they're looking at the spreadsheets and the financials and they're saying, shit, no European money next season. Potentially no Premier League TV revenue money next season. We're in a fucking terrible situation here financially. And I've been saying, if we do get relegated, that could have major, major financial implications. So I think they are. I think they expected on the back of last season to qualify again for Europe this season. And they maybe projected for that. And now that's seemingly disappeared. Potential Premier League money seemingly disappeared. They're looking at the situation being like, we're fucked, basically, from a financial perspective. Because if we do go down, we are. And if we don't get Champions League money, we're also not in as strong a position as we were.
Yeah, but they knew that.
Ago.
They knew that in January when they were saying,
agreed,
we're going to be, the wage structure is going to be obliterated and we're going to be spending money and there is money there and all this kind of stuff. They knew we weren't going to be in Champions League. They maybe didn't know we were not going to be in the Premier League, but everyone knows if we go down to the Premier League that we're not going to break the wage structure. Everyone knows that.
But I think that in January, when they were saying all this stuff, they were providing lip service to the fans. And I actually think they probably did try and bring in a few players that would break that wage structure, but they didn't realise how hard it would be to attract that kind of calibre of player. They were deluded in that sense, and they weren't able to attract that calibre of player. We ended up with Conor Gallagher and Sousa, not players that have really moved the needle for us from that point to where we are today. And now they are coming to the stark reality of where we actually are, because I don't think they had the reality of where we were in January.
Well, they knew we were in the bottom half.
They did know that.
And if we stay up, what's the difference between where we were in January and where we stay up?
But also, back in January, potentially even the early parts of January, if we would have gone on to a run, there was still a bit of a chance of European football, albeit not very big. But the league was so congested, where if we would have brought in a couple of players and gone on a really good run, we could have made European football.
Potentially.
So,
not Champions League, though.
No, not Champions League, but at least Europa League or Conference League or something like that. So I think that's what was in their mind. I really believe that. I don't think they had relegation anywhere near the forefront of their mind back in January.
Yeah, but it was a very high possibility. I think they weren't thinking we're going to be in Europe next season, where we were in January. So unless I don't know, I think they're probably soft launching our relegation financial struggles. That's probably part of it. But I also think Vinai is just, he has to say something, doesn't he? He can't. He knows he's taking all the blame at the moment, so he's trying to shift some. He doesn't want to bear the brunt of it.
That's what this all comes down to. I think Vinai knows he's on his last legs, and he is just coming out swinging, being like, "This is nothing to do with me, guys. This is nothing to do with me. This is all on Daniel Levy, the guy that hired him, by the way." Nothing to do with Vinai. Vinai is completely blameless in this situation. It's all on Daniel Levy. And don't get me wrong, Daniel Levy has a big part to play of where we are right now. But currently, Vinai is the CEO. Vinai and Lange were the ones that took charge of the January transfer window and failed beyond imaginable belief. So for Vinai to come out and start pointing fingers, I think it's ridiculous. Albeit Levy does need to have the finger pointed at him. Don't get me wrong, but Vinai needs to take a long, hard look at himself more than anyone. There's no point going back and blaming previous owners when you're the one in the hot seat and you're the one that can change things.
100%. But he's also, but what Vinai is saying is he's not blaming. He can't take the blame for if it is true what he says about the financial situation of the club. That's not down to him. He's not saying we didn't have money to sign players. He's saying we don't. The financial situation is not as good as it's been portrayed from on the outside, and that would be on the previous. He has only become the chairman since September.
Yeah,
and he was CEO before then. So I understand that as well. We do obviously all have our criticisms of Daniel Levy, and we all know the problems that we had under him, and the trajectory of the football club was definitely going down even before Vinai came in. So that's all true. So I don't know if I disagree with anything he said, but I don't know if I disagree there. But I also think it's mixed messaging from what has already been said.
He's taking no accountability of the current situation that we're in, and he's got a big part to play of the immediate current situation.
But what can he take accountability for apart from the manager? Well, he's not talking about the manager. What's he been asked? That is the question. What the minute's referring to? I don't know if he's asked about if he's mentioned the manager.
I'll tell you. It says while the club made strong progress in areas such as the stadium, training facilities, commercial growth, and stadium operations, several areas were identified as failing short of what was required to compete at the highest level. The key issues identified were including insufficient focus across the organisation on the pitch success, which we've all had a problem with for a very long time. A lack of specialist expertise in certain areas and insufficient empowerment of experts in others.
Agreed with that. Always agreed with that.
But that empowerment did come back to bite us this season. That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
A wage structure and player transaction approach that had impacted competitiveness in the transfer market. Mm-hmm. A men's squad requiring strengthening in terms of quality, experience, and leadership.
Agree with that.
Insufficient prioritisation of the women's team. Financial pressures arising from heavy transfer spending and limited player sales, increasing the relevance of financial fair play constraints to future planning. Mm-hmm. An internal culture requiring improvement in a number of areas, a growing disconnect between the club and the supporter base.
Yeah, that's all true.
It is all true. No, I don't think anyone's saying it's not true, but what's Vinai done to improve any of these aspects?
Nothing. Well, what can he do in a few months, I guess, would be his point. But I completely agree. I think for me, Vinai, it's not necessarily I'm expecting Vinai to address everything within however long it's been, 6 months or 8 months. He's been at the club a year now, hasn't he? In totality, or 11 months. I'm not expecting him to fix everything, but the reality is his decision making thus far is about to get us relegated. So it's not only has he not addressed those issues, it seems to have exacerbated those issues, and we've gotten a lot worse under him. And the decisions he has taken has led us to a situation where we're now on the brink of relegation. So that is where he has led us, and he should definitely be taking accountability for that. But he can't take accountability for the 20 years of Enoch.
Correct.
That's also true.
Yeah, 100%.
So I understand that, and maybe he's on this thorough review, and he's saying, look, over the last however many years, these are the problems that have been, which we all can agree, and we can say he's 100% spot on, and all those things he's identified. Look, but then again, he could just be saying what we want to hear because we know it's true, or that's what we believe to be true. And so he's basically saying, confirming the fans' fears, because that's what we think is the problem. And he's now saying, yeah, these are the problems, which is what the fans have been saying. So maybe he's just trying to get us on side by saying things we agree with. But yeah, 100%, he should be taking accountability for, the hiring of Frank, sticking with Frank for too long. Now this Tudor debacle, and the fact for the no signings in January, and the fact that we're basically on the brink of relegation.
It just doesn't sit right with me when I think there's just some real backstabbing here at play, because like we mentioned before, Vinai...
You don't feel right about him criticising Levy?
I feel right with the criticism of Levy, but not coming from him. Coming from him.
Really?
I don't,
Why?
because I feel like when they came in, they portrayed this image how everyone's so aligned and they share the same vision and the way to move the club forward and all this lip services that were giving us when they first came in and even months after that as well. And then as soon as Levy's out the door to protect himself, he's like, you know what, it's all his fault. It's all his fault. Nothing to do with me. You know, but they shared the same vision. He kept saying how much he loves Daniel and the work that he's done at this football club has been incredible and all this kind of stuff.
Daniel was his boss.
And all of a sudden he's like, nah, you know what, it's all his fault.
Daniel was
I think
his
this is
boss
just,
at the time.
I get that, but I think all this is just to protect himself and to protect his role at the club.
Of course it is. That's why. But it is. But at the end of the day, they've had a meeting, and you want him to not say these things.
I want him to have a bit of accountability
you want him
on
to leave.
himself
We all
as
want
well.
him to leave. I get that, but this is an IFAB meeting about what's the situation at this football club, and he's telling them the findings of his whatever.
Yeah, but
he did,
and I get that, and all of the things that he said about that, I do agree with. However, he's taken no accountability on himself as well. No accountability on Johan Lang.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about blaming the guys that aren't here anymore. Where the guys at the helm right now need to have accountability of where we're at as well. It's not just about Daniel and it's not just about the previous tenure as much as I put a lot of blame on them. There is a lot of blame on the people that are currently there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no accountability in that sense.
I agree. The decisions that he's made are taking us down. But those things that he's all mentioning are all long-term things. He's only been here 8 months. He can't. The things that he's mentioning aren't things you can change within a very short amount of time. The things he could have affected are the things we spoke about, the immediate footballing operations, and he should have taken accountability for completely screwing up in that effect. They've completely shat the bed, and it's gotten worse than anyone could have ever imagined, really, this season. So 100%, he should be talking about that, and he should be saying, I've made mistakes. We've made mistakes. It's not good enough, and we need to be better. But I'm just trying to figure out this IFAB meeting. Is it about this report he's done, this thing, or is it about the job he's doing right now? Is that the topic of discussion? Like, I haven't read the whole minutes. I don't know if he's mentioned himself at all, or because they're clearly, I don't know, they're just picking out bits, aren't they? I'm thinking of this article, so I don't know, I have to read the whole thing, but see if he mentions himself at all. But 100% based on that, he's just basically saying this is all everyone else's fault. But then again, it is all their fault as well. As much as Vinai and Lange have taken responsibility for what's happening right now, we've got to this point because of how ENIC have been run and because of all the things that he is saying. He's absolutely spot on. All of those things, when you compound them over years and years, they get embedded into the club, and it's hard, it's tough to change. You can't just get experts and within 6 months we're a functioning football team. It takes years to implement these things, a proper scouting system, proper people in charge who understand football, focus on on-pitch success. You can't just say, okay, today we're going to focus on on-pitch success and then we're going to be good. And it takes years and years of focusing on it, or loads of money to get the best in class, to then see that get borne out on a pitch. I'm not saying Vinai has done anything right. He hasn't. He's been awful. I'm just saying the thing.
Some free flags and scarves.
True. Okay, he's done that right. I'm not saying he's done anything to address those things that he's mentioning. I'm just saying if he has done it, would have been tough to see that. But right now in the short term. But at the end of the day, you'd also like to think if he has done anything to address it, it wouldn't be getting worse right now than better. That's also the fact.
That's the whole point. It's just like, we'd never been this close to relegation previously since they've come to the helm. That's where we're at. And look, 100%, like I mentioned, Levy's got a big part to play, but Vinai and Lange are not making anything better. And in fact, they're making things worse right now. So there needs to be a hard, cold reset at this football club. And everyone involved in the kind of old Levy setup, Vinai, Lange, all these kind of people, they all need to go. Mm-hmm. Every single one of them needs to go, and there needs to be a cold, hard factory reset where we can just wipe the slate clean and build from there. And whether that be building from the Championship, and I think it'll probably be easier to do it if we were to build from the Championship, or build from the Premier League next season. It needs to be done.
Also, I think what Vinai should realise is if he's criticising Daniel Levy and his decision-making, or part of his decision-making was bring you in.
Exactly.
So, for me, if we're going to say everything about Levy needs to be redone, that includes you, Vinai.
And Vinai was heavily involved in getting Frank to the club. You know, Vinai was there when we sacked Ange Postecoglou. You know, all of these would have been prominent voices in terms of the big decisions at the time. So Vinai has definitely had a big role in this massive downfall over the last year.
Absolutely.
A massive role.
Absolutely. So, for me, part of the bad decision-making at this club has been signing people like Vinai and bringing them to the club.
And also the delayed sacking of Thomas Frank.
All of that stuff. So, yeah, as much as Vinai I want to throw shade, and I can agree with everything he's saying, you don't come out of this scot-free. And your job is on the line here. And, in fact, whatever happens between now and the end of the season, I don't see how he recovers the situation. I don't see, unless we somehow sack Tudor, we bring in a new manager who does turn it around. And we also seem to somehow go far in the Champions League with a new manager. I don't really see how Vinai saves his skin here. I think it's already like gone too far, you would probably say.
The finance thing is very worrying though, because we've always had this image in our head. We've always portrayed that financially we're completely fine. Financially, we're probably one of the best spots in the Premier League, but he's portraying a different image now.
Mm-hmm.
And the FAB were told that the wage structure implemented by Levy had been removed, but were warned that the club's finances are not as healthy as fans may have thought. Vinai noted that the club had been loss-making for a number of years, which means compliance with financial fair play rules need to be actively monitored and planned for.
Doesn't that always have to be the case?
Yeah, you would have thought so. An increased emphasis will therefore be placed on player sales alongside continued revenue growth to ensure that we have regulatory headroom to invest.
Is he implying that there are years where you just don't even have to look at FFP, actually. We just forget. They don't even check it. Like, we've got so much cash, we don't have to check FFP. There are some years. But now it's like getting tired again. We actually have to check it now. Let's just check this again. Look under the... Oh, shit. It's actually not good.
Yeah.
What's he implying there? Now we have to, like, be mindful of it. It's like, what are you chatting about? Obviously, every club has to be mindful of FFP at every moment. Isn't that, like, the basis?
But the whole thing around Spurs and what the narrative was is that we're so far away from the FFP threshold, we could spend 400 million and it wouldn't make a difference. Mm-hmm. I guess that's what he's saying, where that's not the case anymore.
I mean, there's always a limited amount of money you can spend, but yeah, I mean, a limit depending on how big the limit is. But I understand what he's saying, but the way he said it just annoyed me. But yeah, in terms of how does it make sense to then lift the wage budget if you can't spend more money? We're now unable to spend the money, so now's the time that we're going to lift the wage budget.
You know what I mean? Our hardest financial time is like, we're going to smash that wage budget.
No. What he's saying is we're willing to spend 300k, but we can't afford it now. So the wage budget has now been lifted to a certain figure. It's now no longer 200k. The only problem is we don't have the money to spend for 200k. So we're going to have to lower what we can spend, but we are willing to spend 300k if we have the money. So what he's implying with that is that we had the money, which we all know is that we had the money to do it before, and we just weren't willing to do it. And now we're willing to do it, but we don't have the money.
So basically, we're never going to do it.
So it's ridiculous. It's farcical.
Yeah, everything around this club is just an absolute joke, and you have these people running the club that they're just clueless of how to take this club forward. They really are. It's just like, where are we going to go? Like, where are we going? What are we going to do? How does this even move forward? You know, you've got big protest planned for the next couple of games. I hope there's a big turnout and stuff, but it's just all nonsense. This club is just nonsense.
Is this the Pro Enoch and Vinai Club fan channel? What are you chatting about?
We've just been laying into Enoch and Vinai for the whole 26 minutes of this stream so far. But yeah.
Anything else in the article then?
No, that was it pretty much.
Let's just hope all those things get addressed by someone at some point at this football club. That's the most important. Look, I think it's not nice, but it's good to hear Vinai lay out all the problems that all the fans have been saying for many, many years are wrong with this club. And we felt, I think sometimes supporting this football club, it feels like we've been gaslit by journalists.
Absolutely. No fan base has ever been gaslit as much as Spurs fans.
For complaining about these even when we're doing well and even when we're in good positions, we complain about exactly what he's been talking about. And it feels like we've been gaslit for many, many years. Like, oh, it's not a problem. Oh, you're being ungrateful, all these different things for complaining about it. And it's right there. That's the findings he says. So it's good to hear that. Now, whether the intention of him saying these things is that these are actually his findings, or he's just trying to give the fans what they want to hear to get him off his back, we don't know. But I think, for me, everything he says there is absolutely spot on.
All right. Well, that is Vinai's minutes with the Fab. Let us know your thoughts on that in the comments section below.